Good morning. Good morning, everybody. A little bit late start for me on a Friday, but we got lots to talk about. I hope everybody is enjoying this route in the Bitcoin markets. This is, honestly, if you're talking about stacking sats, this is basically what you play for. We'll look at the standard deviations here in a second, the percentiles, the trends. But yeah, there's some exciting stuff going on in the markets, and I think I'll be able to hopefully shed some light on some of it. So I picked a time here, which is a cherry-picked time, but this is basically right after the SBF fraud, right? So this is when we drop down below 20,000 into, the 15, 16 even for a time here. Peter Zion said it was $17,000 overvalued when it was 16,000, something like that on Joe Rogan. All right. This is, I think, a really good look for the medium term of what we can expect and probably more. As you guys know, I like to look at the long-term trends in gold and silver. This looks like something monumental. They're going to be flying, right? But first of all, we've already seen the pullback. And once I back up and show you again the 50-year trend line for gold and silver in dollar terms, it doesn't look that crazy. But let's just look at Bitcoin. All right. Take a cherry-picked date, the worst time for Bitcoin, end of 2022, during a cycle, of course. What is there to worry about? If you wait just a few months from the lows, you're off to the races again at the start of 2023. Right? Doesn't take but until the summer to already get up 60%. And it took a year to double. Meanwhile, we see what gold and silver are doing at this time, up 13%, 18%. I know this is a cherry-picked date, but I just want to show you. All right. ETFs came early, or perhaps ETFs came late approval, but they started perhaps a front run of this last cycle early. All right. And off we went. Hello, sir. I don't follow the Bressert cycles. I can look into them, though. So the full cycle from bottom to top. All right, so it's including a bad year 2022, which if we still believe the 4-year cycles are intact, and by the way, if the 4-year cycles are intact, and they might be, I would say they might not be exactly year to year intact, but the breakdowns that occur, right? Okay, remember all the bullish people that said the 4-year cycle was done in October, November. You remember that? How many people said the 4-year cycle was done? I am happy to say I was not one of them. It's true. I'm a little bit, I'm a never financial advice guy. I'm not going to bet the farm that we will be back at the 10th percentile or worse by the end of the year. All right, because remember, it took a full year. Each prior cycle, 2014, 2018, and 2022, they were all long, rough, bad years that no one wanted to believe that we would puke out. It is possible we're different now. I agree. But to say that this sort of 4-year churn is over, I thought was always premature. And I think we're seeing this play out. All right. Don't get me wrong. Wall Street could be front running this, right? This is perhaps a faster dip. We talked about this yesterday, right? Actually, not really. We had a really fast dip if you look at the 2018 fall, right? We can go back to that on this chart. Felt like some 60% in a couple months. We have not done that here, but we'll go back to that. Anyway, the point is, gold and silver have had, you know, a generational run. Bitcoin has had a run-of-the-mill run. And this is what you get if you look at store of value assets in dollar terms. Is the next 3-4 year cycle going to be exactly the same? Of course not. But you guys know I drone on about the Malox moments. This is, I think, the comfort that you can find with Bitcoin. All right. So look, we go up 6-7x. It is true. If you we'll go back to the statistics. If you fall out from here, it's this is an opportunity to sell some and then buy more here. That's true. I'm not, markets are markets. You have bulls and bears and all sorts of crazy news. So, if you just hodl, if you just buy and hodl, great. We're in an interesting spot where if you just hodl, gold, silver, and Bitcoin are actually kind of the same. Gold actually slightly less good. All right. Over 3 for Bitcoin, over 3x for silver, gold slightly under 3x. Good morning, Kurt. Definitely not dead. Yes, I love this, man. I'm in a good mood. Very good mood today. I got some good political stuff too. Friday. We don't need to do any lectures. You guys tell me what you think, but power law is not dead at all. This is great, man. This is good stuff. Fiat mines meaning gold and silver mines? Or what do you mean fiat mines? Oh, just the printing press, sorry. Lingo's too complex for me. Yes. This is in my picture of very indicative. All right, in my view, this is a very indicative picture of what we're going to see in the next few years, and it's just how it works. Right? If anything, Bitcoin's going to continue on this run where it can go 5, 6, 7x from these types of lows. And gold and silver is probably not going to do as well. It's going to churn. Also, yeah, gotcha. All right, so this is good. This is really good in my view. Could we go down, as Kurt said, down 50% from the top? Let's just look right here exactly. All right, I reset the index on every view. Okay, so we're down now about 50% from the top date. All right, during that time, gold and silver up 50%, 25% respectively. Fine. I always get this. Let me try. I told you this is too buggy still. Let me look at the 2017 to 2018 to 2019. It's not going to work. I have to do this box zoom. Hold on. Hold on. All right. So when Bitcoin topped in 2017, fell down 80% in 2018. All right. Gold and silver, nothing really happened. Sideways for 7, 8 years from 2011. Let's look at this point right here. This was quick. We talked about this yesterday, right? So over 60%, in fact, for the month, like from the top of 2017, which was December 16th. I think I got the 19th here. All right, so over 60% fall for the month, but that was it. But a very uncertain year. All right, so we went like down to 36 cents on the dollar, 36, 30, and eventually we puked out down here to the 80%. Honestly, very hard for me to envision we repeat this, right? The year-long crash. All right, so let's do it again from 2020, 2020. The 2022 crash, all right? So November was about the peak. I'm picking that up, right? Mostly at the peak. Okay, gold, silver again, sideways, nothing. This was a slower fall than 2018. Actually, it's all the same, isn't it? I mean, look, it's 50%. It's a big fall. Whether you're 50%, 60% in a couple months, you do that. And that's why I was really skeptical when everybody was saying in October, November, like the cycles are over, the cycles are over. This is not playing out like the cycles are over. I'm not saying we're going to have a whole year of bearishness, especially in light of the gold and silver boom. But I mean, you just got to start thinking about your levels now of when you can buy. Like Kurt said, I mean, he's buying his ass off. There you go. Find those right bids. Good morning, Sandro. Also great. Also great. DCAN. Yeah, that's a good term. Look, you guys tell me. It's Friday. It's Outrage Friday. I got some good political stuff for you, but it's all good news for Ukraine. I think for the free world, there's been some good news this week. Epstein files continue to roil everybody. I don't know. I have a hard time committing to Bitcoin having like a full bad year. Like, so I've kind of been on the fence of, yeah, there could be something weird to play out, this year, like not a full cycle where we go down. Totally agree with that point. But I was not for a minute convinced that we had got out of the 4-year cycle. So, I mean, look, these are past cycles. We went down 50%, 60% in 2-3 months. It's the same thing. There is no denying some cyclicality here. Now, is this time truly different because we have Wall Street involved? Oops. See if I can. Are we gonna? Let's go again from the top. Let's go right from the top. You guys tell me. This another year of softness while gold and silver boom? I just don't see it. I do think we could go lower. No doubt about it. I mean, this is a falling knives moment, but we should all be pretty happy about these prices. All right, let me show you where we are. Price is moving so fast. I didn't reset this window while I was getting ready, so 64. Are we lower than that? 65. We're higher. 65.8. But Look, this is why we do this analysis. This is why you can see the probabilities. $57,000 is the 20th percentile, which we hit in every single cycle. Let's review. All right, 2013, we created the power curve in 2013, 2014, 2017 to 2018. Actually, this is interesting. So 27. So I thought it was actually lower. We barely kissed the level that we're not quite at in 2017, although we scraped it. Right. 2022 was a huge dip right here. You know, below the prior high of 20,000, and it lasted a couple months. So your guess is as good as mine. Where we go, it's probabilities, but this is a accumulate zone, no doubt about it. I can't tell you how bullish I am. I can't tell you guys how excited I am. Good morning. Fiat slave earnings in all day. Yes, good point. Good point. I mean, it's going to take time. How long? Month, two? I don't know. Could it go down to the 10th percentile? Maybe. But this 20th percent is a pretty good number as a level. And we almost hit it. Definitely agree. How long though? What do you guys think? How long? I mean, I kind of like, you know how the March 2021, like, so the March 2021 bull, this double top, I think, threw everybody, right? So this was early. Everybody thought this was early, and then we had the second top confuse people. I wonder if we're going to get something like that, like a double bottom this year, maybe, or I'm not even going to try to call it, but what I will say is this is not showing damage to the 4-year cycle. There is some sort of interesting cyclicality. True. Also true. All right, here's my old price to sales. This is breaking down as well. This is, in my opinion, the only fundamental analysis you can do in Bitcoin because it takes miner revenue as a function of the market cap. All right. And look, every time we broke below this power curve, every time we broke, actually, I got to show you the evolving, which is harder to read. Sorry. The black line in the middle. Every time we broke below that black line in the middle, which is dotted, we had to go down. And look, I was on the fence, okay, but I was on the fence. It was possible we could have gone back up, but we're not. We're not now. We're breaking down. Cheaper Bitcoin is coming. For how long? I have no idea. But this is nothing to get upset about. This is not, the rainbows are not for this line, they're for this line. So, and did we hit the 1? We did, every time. Yeah. All very true stuff. We can look at the money supply, stock market. possibly rolling over. The outrage in the U.S. is growing. I don't know if you guys are seeing some of this stuff. I got some tweets, but I mean, this is so. We're in such a ridiculous political environment. Gold and silver are still in this sort of generational boom. It could turn around quick, but I agree with you guys. I mean, it's going to break down for a little bit. There you go. Is that a bullish or bearish statement? Yeah, I know I need to get more flows for you guys, both on. But look at this. Look at this. It's just stats. It could go lower. There's no bottom here until we set it because we're at new lows. But silver is 90% on sale to the trend that it should be, which is 5,800 ounces per Bitcoin. It's only at the moment 852 ounces per Bitcoin. You see, we set the bottom. Are we going to keep on this bottom? I don't know, but it just. You can't fight this trend. You can't fight the fact that silver was, 10 years ago, 20, 30 ounces of silver per Bitcoin. At the top, 800 ounces, which was $20,000 Bitcoin at the time, which is the same price now. I just don't see this getting much cheaper. Same with gold. 13 ounces, 13.3 ounces of gold per Bitcoin. I'm convinced 8 is the bottom, 8, 9, and I just don't think we're going to hit it. No guarantees, as always. I'm too sissy to give you guys guarantees, but this is all relative exciting levels. There's just no doubt about it. Here's one I haven't updated in a while. Okay, so for the fundamentals, the technicals, here's FedWire. I have stats back to the 80s. This is literally the amount of transactions that the Federal Reserve does with base money, bank reserves in a year. All right, 100 million back in the year 2000. A year. Okay. 200 million in 2021. Bitcoin did 100 million. Bitcoin almost matched it in 2024. Transactions have actually fallen since the ETF started. TPS is very close. Basically the same. 5, 6 transactions per second. Okay, now let's look at value. The Federal Reserve does $1 quadrillion a year in, this is throughput value or payment value, transfer value. Okay, 1.1 quadrillion is down a little bit, and you see Bitcoin. Let's take this off. 22 trillion. So if you look at this chart, where technically they can do the same amount of transactions, and you look at this chart, which is just it's just an imaginatory number, which is the dollar value of something. Bitcoin actually could technically do what the Federal Reserve does. There's nothing stopping it. It's just the dollar price. And don't get me wrong, the Bitcoin network would become overloaded quickly if it was a very fast peak, but there's no reason. And then this is the old supremacy line. Okay, in log scale, Bitcoin went from absolutely nothing, millions of times smaller than the Federal Reserve, to only now 54 times. 54 times smaller than what the Federal Reserve technically does. Not technically, but dollar wise does. It's actually a record low. So there's nothing fundamentally in the network that's stopping this trend from going lower and lower and lower. When the value of Fedwire transactions is equal to the value of Bitcoin transactions, this will be 1x. And you see the trend. Yeah, I agree. 100%. This is absolutely, institutions are driving this. No doubt about it. Everybody knows about the power curve now, I believe. They got maybe more sophisticated models than we do here, but this is a reinforcement of, in my view, the 4-year cycle and the power curve. Good morning, BTC Moon Guy. But look, fundamentals are intact. The network, there's nothing in the network that shows that we can't do similar things that the Fed does. And you can even count batching, which is kind of cheating, but this is every output, right? And so then Bitcoin jumps above to double the Fed. Right, so this is just transactions per second. Every transaction that's in a block, but doesn't include batching, doesn't include best practices. If you include that, we get over to double. But I think that's kind of cheating because the Federal Reserve also does batching, and I don't have those numbers, so it doesn't really matter. But these are the apples to apples numbers. This is central bank money. This is breaking down, though. Technically, they're forcing this down. Look, you guys tell me, but if I had to guess, and we didn't have, these values above the 9, let's take the noise away. If we didn't have these values above the 9 in any chart, right, we stayed in the last 3 years, which is opposite of what happened every prior cycle. If I had to guess, I would say, be careful down here. This could turn around. Probably not immediately, but no cycle is going to be exactly. I think we'll probably turn around quicker this year. That's my thinking. But we could definitely go lower in the next few months. I'm very excited. Probably not much. What do you think? What do you guys think? I saw, a bunch of these Wall Street guys talking about, the gamma cage, and how Wall Street can just do this again and again and again. Here's this guy, Bob Kendall, from the Kendall Report. I don't know who he is, but, precious metals follower for sure, 42-year veteran of technical analysis. Basically, as he says, right now Bitcoin futures alone are about 49 billion. about 700,000 fake BTC at 70,000. Options at another 40 to 50 billion. Even lowball, that's 400K to 500K BTC. Perps stack on 300K BTC ETF ARBs, long ETF and short futures, add 200 to 300K BTC and OTC swaps. And structured stuff, add 200K BTC. All in, that's 1.5 to 2.5 million BTC that only exist on spreadsheets. After lost coins and long-term holders, that's 20-30% of what actually trades, controlled with fractional leverage, meaning a small group can move price without owning anything real. I think there's definitely truth to this. But they're not going to take, like, it's not going to take over Bitcoin here. And I've watched how this plays out in real time. Market makers can flash bids, pull liquidity, lean on options gamma, and make price look real when it's not. Just long enough to trigger FOMO or liquidations. Retail thinks it's organic, but it's positioning and leverage. That's why Wall Street doesn't need to own all the BTC. They just need to control the paper. Stocks can still go up because companies have earnings, buybacks, and forced dealer hedging. Bitcoin doesn't. This is where he's wrong. There's Bitcoin stocks that have all of these things, just like there's gold and silver stocks. Once price is set by leverage paper instead of scarcity, it stops being rare and starts being a Wall Street controlled game. Again, this is too fatalist in my view. So here's the question I thought was interesting. Joe asked, what prevents this from happening with precious metals if indeed it is prevented with precious metals? And then he says it's been happening for years in the metals. Okay, so it's been happening for years in the metals. Fine. This is a very common newsletter, gold, silver thing, right? But then people have to look at the dollar chart, and you still have to contend with the fact that you do, with gold and silver, have booms still. Look, I surely agree that the Wall Street control is there, no doubt. But I think people that think that's coming to Bitcoin and it's only going to be the same as precious metals, I highly disagree with. I would say high odds it's not the bottom. Could be. I'm not even interested, as you know. Okay. Thank you, Ghost in the 90s. I think it was David Morgan, silver investor, newsletter guy. He actually had a statement, which I think is probably as true as you can say it, is like, can they, if you want to use the word market manipulate, can they manipulate the price, manipulate the markets in the short term? Absolutely. Can they do it in the long term? Absolutely not. And I do think we're going to see in the next year, look, even this gold doubles, it's going to fall back to this trend, to some trend. And I think in the next year, when it's all said and done, you're going to have gold and silver investors still realize that at the end of the day, gold and silver did not keep up with stock gains for the last 50 years. They just didn't. This curve is less than 6% compounded. Yeah, you could have bought way down here and sold way up here or here, but you'd be higher than 6%. Look, this is as simple as it gets. If you buy under this line and sell above the line, you get more than 6%. If you buy above this line and sell under this line, you get less than 6%. But if you buy or sell around the line, you'll get 6%. And that's how I look at it. I mean, it's a nice asset. It's industrial, also store of value, yada, yada, yada. But I don't think there's some dark cabal like controlling these markets. And then if you go back to our market, which is a totally wild power curve, right? It's the same thing. It's just faster. This might look scary because it might look, oh, it's falling off the curve. It's not going to get back. It's going to get back. And we might even take this down, you know. In fact, we are taking it down every day, in fact. But it's going to get back. It's going to get back to these levels. In Hong Kong, in Asia, 55,000 euros. What did he say? He's completely out of the metals markets. Smart man. He's played it enough. He knows the cycles. This guy's a champion. I met him actually. I met him at a Doug Casey conference, and we chatted for a little bit because he knows what's his name, Lobo. You know Lobo, the guy that used to write for Casey Research, used to spend time over here in Eastern Europe, and just know some of those guys. But yeah, I mean, this guy's, he said repeatedly that you just follow these markets, they become fairly predictable. So if you're Rick Rule and you're, God, where the hell is it? Where did I just put it for you? Yeah, I'm pretty sure he's been in the market since the 80s. So when you see booms that go outside the norms of the deviation, yeah, it's a good analogy. Buffett's son, by the way, is giving a lot of money to Ukraine. I got to give it back. Got to move it back to that topic. Hmm. Is that, yeah, yeah, that you're agreeing with me, right? About the David Morgan comment. It has indeed been manipulated, right? Uh, but you can't. I'm highly skeptical that an idea like this would just play out over the long term. I guess I should reply with that comment, but you can do anything to manipulate in the short term, not in the long. Bitcoin is a force of nature. I mean, just look at this. Just look at the raw transaction volume. It's not comparable to Visa. It's not comparable to MasterCard. It's comparable to what the Fed does. Oh man, I have to go there now, Sandro. This is Rage Friday. Tell me, guys, what you think of this. This put me in a good mood. I should have shown this earlier. Uh, so if you haven't been paying attention, people have not understood when Elon Musk turned off the Russian terminals and gave whitelisted terminal addresses to all the Ukrainian terminals. People had no idea how reliant the Russians were on Starlink. Now, how much Musk knew how reliant the Russians were on Starlink to me is another question. I'll show you a tweet. But let's just read this. This is an open source intelligence guy, Russian speaker. Yesterday, I was reading about the collective meltdown coming out of Russia because their Starlink access is being throttled. I'm still trying to wrap my head around the sheer absurdity of it. How did the self proclaimed second army of the world, the one that spends every waking hour threatening to destroy the West, become so politically dependent on a Wi Fi connection provided by a U.S. company? It is peak irony. They spend billions on propaganda about their unrivaled homegrown tech and analog free weaponry, yet their entire frontline communication seems to rely on the goodwill of an American billionaire. Watching a regime that claims to be a global rival to the US scramble because they lost their American made internet is like watching someone try to start a revolution using their enemy's guest Wi Fi password. It turns out you can't really fight NATO when your entire military command structure is one terms of service violation away from total silence. It's a masterclass in geopolitical clownery. This put me in just an amazing mood. Here's another one, which I, you know, to such massive impressions I know when I do these retweets. But here's Elon Musk. Only in March of last year, a year ago, I literally challenged Putin to one-on-one physical combat over Ukraine, and my Starlink system is the backbone of the Ukrainian army. I'm sure he's not wrong on that, by the way. Their entire front line would collapse if I turned it off. What I am sickened by is years of slaughter and a stalemate that Ukraine will inevitably lose. Of course, everybody in Eastern Europe has been providing the solution for this. Just need to arm Ukraine. They're not even asking for soldiers. Anyone who really cares, really thinks, and really understands wants the meat grinder to stop. Right. Peace now. Musk has changed his tune. I honestly don't know. What do you guys think? Is it because of the Epstein files? Because, I mean, Russia is just coming out in a big way in these Epstein files. But it's just remarkable. You can read all the reports. I mean, they have just been, the front line has just stopped in the last couple days from Russia attacking because they're completely decoupled from the internet on the front line. But again, someone who I think is always spot on, Kasparov, the chess master, thanking Musk for stopping Russian invaders from slaughtering Ukrainians with Starlink tech after public outrage is well and good. But they've been using it widely for several years. There's been plenty of reports about Russians using Starlink. Isn't this a sanctions violation? Are we supposed to know? Are we to suppose Musk didn't know? This is, guys, I'm telling you, you're looking at the future right here. I mean, Europe better get there. I remember we did a podcast with Keto Biner, from Noddle a while back, years ago, and he was talking about how he's angry that the sky was being destroyed by Musk, which I am as well. Like, I haven't lately, but he used to like to go out with a telescope. And I actually saw them with the naked eye a couple times over here in the Baltics. It's wild to see. But there's no going back. I mean, space is a new frontier. People are going to want a cheaper, faster, better connection. There's no going back. It's unbelievable to me that Ukraine is just showing us what the next 20, 30, 40, 50 years are going to be for all countries. Like, it's a race to space. I'm so glad that finally people like Musk are taking some sort of a stand to help Ukraine. That's unbelievable. Unbelievable. Nope. It's not dead. None of it's dead. We're just cheap. Very, very cheap. In my opinion, this is the absolute bottom. Right? This price, 8-9 ounces, which is the same price we bottomed at 2022 in gold terms, 8-9 ounces. In my opinion, that's the bottom. In fact, I don't think we get there. I think silver is going to show us before gold that we don't go below these levels. No, it's just incredible. Hi, Daniel. I'm so glad to hear that finally Ukrainians have some people on their side. But again, you can't. This is actually a true point. Like you can't rely on the terms of service of an American company. This is a good message. Oh, sorry, this is the wrong one. You can't rely on the terms of service if you're European. I'd say for any American company, Brits are going to have to think about that with their nuclear arsenal. Just to continue the outrage, this came out in a couple. Oh no, not this one. Is this one? Yeah. No, this is a good one. So Tusk has already, Prime Minister Poland has already tweeted about how they're going to be investigating all the connections of Russians in the Epstein files. Great book, Autocracy Inc. And Applebaum, who's married to the foreign minister of Poland. That's not what I wanted to show. What did I want to show? I mean, did you guys see this? Like, this just came out a couple hours ago. I imagine everybody saw this. How is America going to keep acting like this is normal? I don't speak as a raging woke Democrat. I can't really see how this is going to be treated as normal anymore. To Sandro's comments about Poland, if you didn't see this, I mean, Ambassador Tom Rose to Poland seems like as embarrassing as they come, damaging relationships. Uh, just, I mean, it's just pathetic. As Jane Keefe says, it's pathetic. I mean, the U.S. is losing decades of hard-won diplomacy, even just geopolitical superiority from World War II. It's amazing. Denmark remains super pissed. Michael Weiss, just want to read this. Denmark spent 2.8% of its GDP on Ukraine, lost troops in Afghanistan. We threatened to go to war with them over territory we have been free to use for 80 years, and our embassy in Copenhagen desecrated a memorial to their fallen. They've removed flags and they put them back, acted like they didn't mean to take the flags that Danes put out. Poland approaches 5% of its GDP on defense, has fought side by side with the U.S. in every major war since 1989. But the marshal of their parliament says Trump doesn't deserve a medal, and that's worthy of a demarc. How do you say that? Demarc? Bordering on a diplomatic crisis. Scandinavia and Poland represent Europe. Scandinavia and Poland represent the Europe that MAGA pretends to admire. And so, of course, this is the Europe that MAGA bullies and hectors, a low-rent grift and shakedown masquerading as a foreign policy doctrine. I'm just not sure on any level where Americans see this going. Local, foreign. There's no going, like, it takes 12 minutes or what is it, 19 minutes for a hypersonic missile to reach the U.S. Like, if Jefferson said trade with everyone, allies with no one, it just doesn't work in the 21st century. You see everything that's happening with the Starlinks. I don't get what the game is for the U.S. here. But I'm glad that Europe is going to be stronger, and Poland or Ukraine is getting the support finally, at least from people like Musk. Yeah. He can turn it around, that's for sure. I mean, it's true that he didn't go to the island, but he was on the defense for like, someone said he tweeted like 200 times about it or something over the weekend, last weekend. Hello, ASD. Yeah, this is so sad. I mean, this is so sad. I just, it's such a shame for America. You know, we had the Jim Turk had the old fear index, which he used with M3, which stopped being calculated in 2006. I could back into it, but it's kind of a slow evolving index. You have to take M3 uh, divided by like maybe the U.S. gold hoard in U.S. dollar terms. But in any event, it's clear that we're in a sort of generational change here with gold and silver. But I can't say I'm worried about it at all, or think that Bitcoin's going to do something different. This is what I think, guys. I think you pick the worst it can be for Bitcoin, and I think you will see a similar result in the next 4 years, and probably gold and silver worse. By the way, let's look at this for the prior cycles. So we went 7x, and even now with the puke, we're still up 4x. Important to keep in mind from the worst of it. And if you went, sorry, this is the same time, isn't it? Let's go from here to here. Harder to see, so I'll do the box. $16x. Right? If you bought at 3,000, goes to 60,000. And then the 2013 to 2017. This is so annoying. That's why I'm working the bugs out before I give you guys the. So it actually took 2 years to bottom, that old crypto winter as they called it, but let's just look. Let's pick the worst of it. It's somewhere here. Somewhere here. Why is that doing that? Here we go. So if you bought after the 2013 top and then held to the 2017 top, 80x. All right, so it was 80. So from trough to peak, each cycle, 80x, 20x, I'm giving you max numbers, and 7x. And then my question would be to you guys, what will we make on the next boom, which is certainly coming? Right? Maybe less than 7x. Yeah. This is the problem for America. This is a big problem. I mean, no one can speak rationally. No one seems to be united on something like, stopping tyrannical Russia. The Democrats are, but they're so terrible with all the other issues. Also, another thing that's important with these percentages, right? Which we probably haven't talked about, is because of all the massive gains in the prior cycles, right? Like 80x or 20x from trough to peak. Now, this one was only 7x, it's true, and we just backed off 50%. But nominally, that put us at the prior peak value, which was 60K. So um, we're running up into some math, which is, I think favorable to a quicker turnaround. I think this is a good thing. And I think this is probably Wall Street led because they know exactly how the cycles of Bitcoin look. They know the power law. What more can one say? Not this one. This one I hadn't updated actually since the summer. And no. This is a sharp rise, sharper than I had expected. I had stopped here at actually since the last first quarter when we were only like 7 trillion something. But this is a good recovery. So this is throughput, not the revenue chart I always show you guys, but throughput. And I have to admit, these on-chain network or on-chain metrics do cause some data which tells us that maybe we are still in some secular bull and it's not a 4-year cycle, right? Because you would expect to be multiples higher, but we're not. So I don't know. Maybe the cycles are done after after this year. We sort of turn around and when we follow the power curve, it's really hard to tell. It's not as predictable booms and busts like we had here. Even there, right? 2013, boom, bust, boom, bust, boom, bust. Does this thing go all the way back down? I have a hard time believing that. I guess it could, but with so much Wall Street money involved, I think we turn around pretty quick. Pretty quick, as in, let's say, before the summer. I guess we got to start taking polls here. I mean, don't you guys think there could be something wacky like, look, we had a double top here. Maybe we'll have some double bottom, this year. I just don't know. But actually, this is the quote right here. I mean, BTC is going to rise much more. God, why can't I catch it? Did you guys buy Bitcoin when it was $15,000? It was all here. And some of these technical guys saying, it can go back to 15,000. That's going back to 1. This is exponential thinking, but Bitcoin is not going exponential. It's going on straight line on log log. There's no doubt that we're not like V-shaping back to 126, as I think Kurt said, but we're going to find a bottom soon. Thank you, Michael. Or Mishi. Sorry if I got that wrong. Yeah. I had some good margin plays, bought a lot here, but my interest was so expensive. I mean, I ultimately won, but I eventually exited around here, right? When everybody thought that Loomis was going to announce some big stuff, and then it didn't. It was good that I did that, but I found that the interest payment was just so much. It's almost just better to just buy spot. Yes. I'm never going there, man. Hyperwave, Elliott wave. Robert Prechter calling deflation for 30 years. Yet again, got to go back to that one. You know, look at where we are. It doesn't get much better. We're not on it, right? So this level is 57. I can't get every day there. Down to 65, as we know, or whatever, but I would say this is a level where you can be quite happy buying. Don't have to bet the farm, don't have to buy a lot, but these are nice levels to get in at. Congratulations. Good afternoon, sir. It's a good day. It's a good day when Elon Musk is on your side. when the Russians have no Starlink. Anybody have any interesting posts to read about the Epstein files? It's good to see Russia get attention in these finally. I really wonder if we're at a sort of a watershed moment. They are going to use our open systems against us. Have to be prepared for it. I don't know exactly the answer, but you at least need to have your eyes open. We can't use any of their technology. They use all of ours on the social side, on the media side. Bannon's relationship with Epstein is just, it's hilarious. It's hilarious how anybody can take that moron seriously. You have any links? I just can't get into it, man. Because Elliott Wave has it's I mean it's of the theory that Bitcoin's going to follow that exponential, that straight line on log scale. I'm sure you can probably match a lot of patterns in the short term, but like we said earlier, this is where charts like these shine. That's all I got to say. All right. Do I know where the bottom is? How long it's going to go? No. But I can tell you the relative risk. It's a good day, guys. Buy when there's blood in the streets. People are helping, finally helping Ukraine on the energy side. Oil's the biggest revenue generator for Russia. This is when they started their invasion. It's the price now. Obviously, when your economy only relies on oil, you need to hit it. They don't even make this price, of course. Their oil is slightly different, and they have all the sanctions. So, but this turnaround with Musk is interesting. I mean, these are hostile moves towards Europe. All right, no matter what you think someone's values should be or whatever. These are hostile moves for Europeans. That's a good question. I don't know. I mean, you could just go on your exchange probably. They probably have decent ones, but sort of global liquid order books, I'm not actually sure. You mean Elliott Wave? Uh, CoinGlass could be a site to check out. CoinGlass. I've seen their stuff. They have decent data, and they have a combined order book from a lot of exchanges that's pretty real time. Put the link here. Merge V2 BTC USDT. It's going to be fine, guys. I have to say this is interesting, right? If you would look at this as a as an indicator, because remember this moves slowly. So even though price topped out here, right? Price topped out here. It's a trailing 12, right? So it catches all the trailing 12 value and transactions. And then it starts to bottom out like a year later. If you look at it that way, which I wasn't really looking at it before, maybe we just have a whole year of tough pricing. But I think everybody who was super bullish in September, October, November, four-year cycles are kind of intact. Now, if you look at here, all right. So we started the downward trajectory, right? For the PSR to get from below, let me see if I can show you what I'm talking about. For the PSR to get below this, I need to color this differently, but this straight dotted black line that for the this thing with the B to get below, right? Took 6 months. And then price still bottomed out for another 6 months. Okay, it takes a year. I mean, it's taken literally a year, like clockwork, the last 3 cycles, and even the 3 cycles ago was even longer than a year, really. Could that happen again? I would say we have to start looking at these metrics then, because this could rebound a little bit, then more weakness. Wall Street piles in with the shorts, whatever. People trying to get short of Bitcoin, weak hands, retail leaves, yada, yada, yada. All of that could totally happen. We could bottom out around this level just like we did here. It's never going to be perfect. Right? It's never going to repeat exactly, but it is a fact that we had a sort of a nice slow fall every prior top that took a year. Is that going to happen again? I've been leaning towards no, like I said, maybe 3 months, 6 months, but I guess we should all, be prepared for it. Be prepared for it. What feels different to me is, besides the fact that this was such a gentle cycle up, right? We didn't get over the 9, barely got over the 8. But also the fact that raw price has already reached the prior top, right? And we're at 60,000. That was the top. Whereas look how long it took it to get back to 16,000 here, right? Took a year. So there are differences. I can't say I'm an expert on deciphering all of these little patterns, but what do you guys think? I think there's a possibility we can rebound. I think there could be a fake rebound and then we fall again, and at the end of the day, it still takes a year. But it is interesting that this is much quicker to our prior cycle top, right? In raw price terms. It would take a full year, the prior cycles, full year down. So this is the price to sales ratio, which is this is something I first published in 2017, actually. I don't see people using it, but it's basically, it's academic. It's, if you take all the coins every day, plus the fees every day, put them in US dollar terms, that will give you a number. Right now it's about $16-17 billion. That's miner revenue over the course of a year, if you roll that over the course of a year. Take the market cap divided by that number, you get a price to sales ratio. So it's the revenue of the Bitcoin network, of the miners. And when the number is high, we're usually heated. When the number is low, we're usually cheap. Right? It was a very uncertain build in 2024. Look, I'm not going to act like I called it because I didn't, but I was very, very skeptical that, like a lot of people were saying, we're 4-year cycle is over, this and that. I mean, it rolled over like all prior cycles. Now the question is, how quick is it to rebound? The only weird thing about this cycle is that we're literally at the same price, and you know, it's just going to be it'll turn around like every other time. It'll turn around. This will not project out. Actually, it's I don't even know why I did this because it does project, but it's not. It's harder for me to back into a price. This is more about valuation. I really should remove this. This is not helpful. Um, this is more just about valuation. So, you know, buy when this is low, sell when this is high. I want to talk to Giovanni, actually. Good old Giovanni. I had heard that he predicted a drop in November from his models. That's exactly what happened. He has more scientific trending models, I guess. It's cheap, guys. Any way you look at it, if you hold gold, if you hold silver, if you hold dollars, Bitcoin is pretty cheap right now. I'm happy about it. If you don't desperately need the money, or it's just your long-term savings, these are good levels and probably going cheaper. So this one projected the price. This one projects it better. All right, so a year from now, if we're at 128, well, actually even higher than 128, but all right, 128.5. If we go to February 2027, 177.9. So 50K. 50K expected on this upward trend this year. I know people are disappointed that we didn't get up to the high levels, but look, we still got to the power trend a long time in dollar terms. Can we get to 175K a year from now? Absolutely. Can we get there quicker? Absolutely. But these are the levels I think you should be thinking about. And right now, this is precisely what this analysis is for. I'm not good on timing, but eat, drink, be merry, and stack sats. Wouldn't that be something? It didn't hit it, right? It was a violent overnight, my time, our time, right? Not Kurt's time, but yesterday. What time yesterday? Like yesterday evening, America. On TradingView, I see a 59.9 at 2:20 in the morning my time, which would have been like 7 p.m. in the East Coast. But quite a bit up from there. I hope you guys scalped some 60K Bitcoin, 61K. Life is good, guys. Be thankful. Be grateful we have this asset, a new governor in monetary value besides gold and silver. I will make a prediction that we don't go below this line. Still quite a way to get, still quite a ways to get there, but cheaper than 8 ounces of gold per Bitcoin. It's just, and we'll see how much this 718 ounces of gold per Bitcoin holds as of silver. 718 ounces of silver per Bitcoin holds as a bottom. Which is a 90% discount from the trend. Unbelievable. That's it for me, guys. Enjoy it. Don't worry. Thank you for tuning in. Have a great weekend. Stack sats. Slava Ukraine. Thank you, guys. Take care.